Today's video is all about how you can incorporate lunges effectively as a way of building a strong and healthy lumbar spine, back, this region of your body, trunk, make it strong, make it resilient to load, and ultimately really use it as a foundational exercise to target not only back, but also further down some of those limbs as well. We're going to talk about all of that. We're going to go through three specific steps, three specific areas of the lunge that are really going to help you avoid trouble in those areas, because it's not just the back that the lunge challenges. It challenges your knees, your hips, your ankles, and we're going to talk about those specific areas in this video. And at the end of the video, we're going to go through the important why. Why are you doing this exercise? Why does it matter? How does it help your lower back health? And hopefully you guys are going to find it really, really important, really, really helpful, and really, really informative, so that you can actually feed lunges into part of your program safely and effectively. Because the lunge, although it is a great exercise to really build a strong back, it does have its pitfalls, it does have its challenges, areas that people struggle with. And if you're not aware of why you're doing it, and if you're not aware of how to do it correctly, you're gonna fall into those traps, get despondent, hurt yourself, and end up not benefiting from this vital exercise. It has so many different ways in which it really, really helps us. So let's get into today's video on lunges and building a strong back. Let's kick things off with the three tips. We're going to overview them very, very briefly, and then we're going to get into the meat of these tips individually. Number one is do them barefoot. Do your lunges barefoot. Why? Because it's going to give you visual representation. You're going to see if your foot's moving around in an erroneous manner, and the focus on not letting that happen is going to build stability from the ground up. Remember, the ground force is coming up, it's coming through the ankles, through the knees, into the lower back, and if things are going wrong down there, it's going to have consequences elsewhere. And a lot of us, we've been over on our ankles, we've not rehabbed them properly, there's a lack of stability and control there, the arches are dropping, all those sorts of things can be rectified visually when we're doing lunges barefoot. Now that comes up with other challenges, but we're going to address that in point number three. Point number two is lunges are difficult. They really are. Many of us watching this video, perhaps you even, maybe you can try this now, pause the video and give it a go, can't even squat correctly. We can't even squat down to a normal chair without things going awry, without the knees rocking in, without the back bending in an appropriate manner, and we just kind of collapse into the chair. It's very, very common. And when we're doing lunges, that's all that body weight on one leg. So it's only natural that you're going to struggle with these to start off with. What regression, i.e. make easier strategies, can we use when we're doing the lunges to allow us to benefit from some of these great things, but at the same time doing it in a safe way that we can build up slowly over a period of time? You're not going to master lunges in a couple of days or a couple of weeks or even a couple of months, not to their fullest. It's going to take you some time to build the strength, and that is an adaptive process, and we'll get more into that later on in the video. So point number three is a nice and easy one. Point number three is, because we've said in point number one, using bare feet, the second point is, if you have any toe discomfort, any trouble with your feet, then you can use a sofa, use a chair to support that back leg, so you can really focus on the front leg and not have any discomfort in the feet. And we'll show you exactly what we're talking about when we get round to point number three in this video. Now, let's go back and go through the bare feet. Why is that important? And let's show you what we're talking about. So when we're doing the lunges, I'm going to start off by doing it front on to you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. As we're going through the lunge, if you look right down at the foot here, as we go back, it's very common for people's knees to roll in. You might even notice this when you're going up the stairs, etc. So we want to plant our feet correctly, because it's the arch dropping in the middle that causes that shearing. It causes those horrible forces to go through the knee, and you can see the impact that it has on the pelvis as I'm pulled in that direction. So by using the bare feet, we can perhaps even lift our toes up off the ground a little bit, just so they're just off the ground, and that helps us redistribute our weight appropriately through that foot, through the ball of the foot, not pushing through the toes, through the outside of the foot and through the heel of the foot, and it really helps you drive a good bit of weight through the heel. And then as we go back into that lunge, we can really focus on keeping everything nice and steady, keeping control in the core, and keeping that foot from the ground up, holding that knee in a steady position. If we look at it from the side here, you can see as we roll in, the foot arch literally flattens down like so. So by going and doing it bare feet, we can look down, we can check the form, we can see some of these small, if you just stand on one leg for a moment, you can see these small adjustments that are being made in the foot to hold things steady. It rocks in, rocks out, but as you get better at doing these, those feet are going to stay really, really solid as we're going through those lunges, and then we can start to build things up from there. Point number two is about regression. With regression, that means make it easier. We might not be coming all the way down to there to start off with. Instead, we might need to only bend a little bit. And it's just about this foot acting for balance, this back foot here, and just slightly bending the knee. Maybe that's all we can do to begin with. And with time, we can go a little bit lower on our lunges. and really start to challenge these legs in different ways. With the lunge, we have to remember that different muscles are going to be coming in to greater or lesser degrees as we go through all the way down to here. Different muscles are going to drive the motion from here and from here and from here. They're going to be involved in slightly different ways. So as we start to build up our lunge, we're going to find that it's going to challenge us in different ways and build up stability in different areas, which we can then apply to other areas of our life because we have strong legs and they integrate well with the core. So if you're struggling with lunges, struggling to control the knee maybe, struggling to control the foot, struggling to control the back and hips, start with a very small bend and really focus that weight on the front leg, and then we can build it out more as we go over time and get stronger. But don't try and rush this. This is going to require an active change in the knee joint, in the muscles of the thigh, in the muscles of the calf, in the control of the body, because as we go lower down, we have to stabilize up here more, etc. If we're adding in resistance, that's also going to play a role as well in learning to stabilize as we're on one leg and having to stabilize our body weight. Don't try and progress too fast. Give yourself time, and this exercise can really be a powerful one. Okay, so for this last one, we mentioned about a little adaptation to help you with your toe, because sometimes when you're coming down like so, that position in my foot here, for some of you guys, that's going to be uncomfortable. And then you'll say, well, I don't want to do lunges because it hurts my toe. So I'm going to forego all the benefits, which we'll talk about in a moment, just because my toe hurts. We can be creative and we can do what's called a split squat, or just use a support on the back of the lunge by using a towel. Grab a normal towel, roll it up like so. Move the spine out the way so it's not there. Pop it on the chair, and if you've got a comfy sofa, you don't even need the towel. But then our back leg goes on there, and that's just supporting just on the roof of the foot, if you will, on the top of the arch of the foot, rather than not using a towel, because that just puts a bit of strain on your leg. It's just unnecessary discomfort. Whereas if we use the towel here, it fits nicely in the front of this part and just makes the experience a little bit more pleasant for you. The back foot goes on here, and this actually in many ways helps you focus on that front leg a little bit more. And then we're thinking about the foot, we're thinking about the knee, we're thinking about our core and the rest of our body as we do these lunges, and we're just going down like so. Now my toe isn't a problem. I can focus on the benefits of this exercise and go shallow or deeper still, depending on the positioning and what I'm ready to do. This is a great option to really help you. Just get those feet out the way, because sometimes you might find actually doing them in trainers is easier, and therefore you do use trainers instead of doing them bare feet, and then you miss out on that valuable feedback from the feet. And feet are something that is so often neglected by many people, but a source of real margin for improvement. So get rid of the trainers when you're learning this. We can always bring them back in later. Use the towel if your toes are uncomfortable when doing lunges, and you'll find that this can just help you build up that control from the feet and really benefit from the lunges in their entirety. So hopefully you found those tips particularly helpful, and hopefully they've given you a bit of guidance, a bit of an idea of how you can get into this exercise, because it is helpful. We're going to talk a little bit now about why this exercise can really help you in so many different ways. So first and foremost, we've mentioned the foot control. Everything that's happening down at the level of the foot is coming up and putting stability or instability through this section of the back. And whilst we're doing our lunges, we're dealing with the complications coming up from the foot. We're managing those at the level of the foot, at the level of the leg, and then we're going to have to resolve them by providing a strong and stable core. We can't forget our core and back and upper body when we're doing the lunges, even if we are focusing diligently on those lower body, that lower part of the body on the feet. Don't forget, we want to keep that posture up tall. We want to keep our core engaged, because this lunge is really helping us strengthen up the back. Now, once we've addressed the feet and the lower body area, then we can start moving up the chain. The secondary benefit of these lunges is that they are providing knee control. You're learning to control your knees. And now as we come up into the hips, we have a strong, stable structure lower down, which means that it's less likely that the knee and the ankles are going to drive off in one direction, putting a stress, pulling the back and resulting in an injury. We now have a strong chain. We're working on improving the strength of that chain. And again, these changes don't happen overnight. You need to be diligent, and you need to be progressive, and you need to really work on, for the long term, strengthening your lunges. But if we can get those single leg variations, the one leg and the other, under control and stronger, they're going to mean that your lower back has to do less work to stabilize itself, and therefore it has an easier time, especially for recovering from any sort of injury or have injuries in the past in this region. It means that this area's got a lot less to contend with coming up from the ground, and that is an area that quite often a lack of control over those limbs lower down put stress repetitively on the lower back, and then over years that contributes to the eventual going of the lower back, some sort of injury, disc bulge, etc. So it's worth getting that nailed right now by using some of the tips we've discussed earlier in this video. Finally, overall, doing the lunge requires stability. There are other enhancements that we can use, such as weights on one shoulder, such as the resistance bands, off to the side, pulling us off balance first or further. But using the lunge allows us to provide a real world simulation of what happens in the real world. Life is asymmetrical. Our core has to work and integrate in its functionality with the limbs lower down. Because we spend most of our life on our feet upright, the core has to learn to integrate. And the lunge is a great way, in a safe way, in a safer environment, of simulating asymmetric load through the body, so that the lower back and the core has to work seamlessly with the muscles of the posture higher up and with the power generating muscles of the hips and the legs lower down. And by learning to do your lunges well, you will learn to provide integrated stability of the back and the core with other areas of the body. And that's what really helps you get back in shape. Doing endless crunches and those sorts of things have their own drawbacks, let alone the fact that they're not integrating those muscles with other areas of the body. And therefore we get junctions where we've got a lot of practice meeting no practice. And the nice thing about lunges, similar to squats, although without the balance component in the case of squats, is that it allows us to start to integrate, to be functional, reminiscent of the way in which our body functions on a daily basis. Hopefully you found this video on lunges helpful. If you have any questions about any of the tips, you can always post those in the comments. We read and reply to all of those comments to try and help you guys better. If you did find this video helpful, consider giving it a thumbs up. Maybe you're working out with someone that you know who's struggling with their lunges, consider sharing this video with them. And remember, this is our new YouTube channel that goes alongside our main Back in Shape program channel, so you can subscribe to this channel for dedicated exercise related videos just like this to help you keep your back and get your back strong and healthy for the long term, because a healthy core, midsection and trunk is going to make you much better for the long term in so many different ways. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in another video.